Hey, what's up guys, this is tcgsam here, and in today's video I've got a test hand for the Adamancipator Superheavy Samurai deck that I recently posted on my channel. So if you haven't checked that out already, be sure to do so using the link in the description below or checking it out on my channel directly. It's got all the ratios and explanations as to why I play certain cards, and in this video we're just going to be showing some of the things that this deck can do. I'm going to be going over my general mindset when doing so, because there aren't really any linear combos in this deck for the most part, so most of the time you're going to be freestyling and having to rely on your intuition to determine what the best course of action is. So without any further ado, let's finish shuffling up and do a going first test hand. We're going to start things off with Wakaushi, Supplier, Seeker, Dragite, and a Ghost Spell in Haunted Mansion. So this card essentially is not going to matter this turn since it's not part of our combo, but the rest of our hand is pretty solid. What I would start with personally is the Dragite and the Seeker. The reason being, it doesn't matter if your opponent actually stops the Seeker or if they hit the Seeker with some hand trap later on, just because we have a guaranteed level 6 Synchro right off the bat. So let's just start with Dragite. Affect the Seeker to special summon itself out onto the board. And just before we get any further, the reason I'm not using Wakaushi is because since we don't have a level 2 tuner in the grave right away, we can't make Barone before we start playing, so I'm going to have to be a little vulnerable to hand traps for now, and save the Wakaushi as like a finishing play instead. Activate the Seeker effect to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. Of course, we would like for us to hit, but you can see even if we don't hit anything, it's still not a big deal, just because we have access to our level 6 Synchro already, and what we can do is Synchro those off for a copy of Raptite, and then on resolution activate the Supplier effect to special summon itself, triggering the Supplier to search a Kowakimeru Guardian. So you may be wondering why we're taking out cards from our deck that we could hit off of this, but if you saw our last hit, it included 2 Researchers, and we really want these back like amongst the other cards in our deck. We don't want these at the bottom of our deck, because Researchers is one of the best hits that we could get off of the Raptite. We essentially want either a Researcher or an Analyzer to keep excavating and doing more combos from there. So for that reason, I decided to go through the deck and get the search for Guardian instead. Guardian's also great because it gives us a rock monster in hand either to pendulum summon out later, or keep in hand and reveal into the end phase to keep one of our Kowakimerus alive. So from here, we're going to activate the Raptite. Raptite's going to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. And then this time, we don't really have much of a choice here. Cthorthan isn't particularly going to do too much for us. And I think we'd rather have the Supplier for sure, because Supplier helps us make a rank 4. And what we're going to do then is overlay the Suppliers for a copy of Gallant Granite. Gallant Granite effect is going to add us Adamancipator Researcher. And it's important to note, at any point if our opponent just Nibiru's us, like at worst, we just have the full pendulum scales plus a Barone to pop their Nibiru and end on that. So of course it's not great, but a lot of people also aren't playing Nibiru at this point, so it's okay if we're a little vulnerable still. We're going to end up adding the copy of Researcher, and then Researcher is going to special summon itself since we do control a rock monster onto the field. And then we're going to activate the Researcher to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. And then we're going to end up hitting a Doki Doki. Doki Doki is perfect in this case because we're going to be able to discard Guardian and summon a Analyzer directly from our deck. Before we go any further, I think what I'd personally do here is actually sort of respect Nib a little bit, because I understand there are going to be players who may choose to hold Nib until like near like the very end of your combo, or when you're threatening to make like a Barone or something. So in theory, like it's possible our opponent would Nib us here, but even if we don't get Nib, I think I'd still turn these 2 into a copy of Crystal Wing just to clear up some space in the main monster zone, because we are going to potentially hit off of the effect of our Analyzer that we're going to get off the Doki Doki. So Doki Doki is going to pitch the Guardian, and then we're going to summon Adamancipator Analyzer from our deck. And then Analyzer effect is going to activate the top 5 cards of our deck. So you can see that we turboed through all 3 of our excavators this turn, and that's sort of the main idea with this deck, because each tuner gets you potentially another body onto the board for more synchro summons or for more link plays. So what we're going to do here is Analyzer, activate the top 5 cards of our deck, and we do hit Doki Doki luckily, so we're going to grab the Doki Doki and summon itself out. Doki Doki was probably one of the better hits that we could have gotten, and the reason for that is because now we can turn these 2 into a copy of our Coral Dragon. Just before we go any further, I'm going to scale the Wakashi and summon it just so we don't accidentally draw into our big Benkei off of the Coral Dragon, because that'd be really bad. So what we're going to do then is scale the big Benkei. Big Benkei is also going to add the Soul Guide booster just so we don't have any chance of drawing it. So from here, now we're going to synchro off these two for a copy of our Adamancipator Risen Dragite. It doesn't matter if you make Dragite first or if you make Excel Barone, you're going to get to the other one anyways. So what we're going to do then is get the Coral Dragon effect just to draw a card. It's pretty good. We drew an Ash Blossom Joy Spring, but for the purpose of this combo, it's just going to be a blank. We're going to equip the Soul Guide booster to our Wakashi, and then synchro summon the two, putting Wakashi to scale through its own effect, summoning Excel Synchro, Excel summon back any level 2 tuner, and then summon Barone the Flourish. So let's shuffle up and do a quick second test hand. Alright, so for this test hand, I'm going to just be doing a very quick discussion about what we can actually do going second with this deck, rather than just doing it going first test hand and solitaring again for like 10 minutes. During the tournament, I did decide to go second a few times, and it was pretty decent because this deck has decent OTK potential, but also is able to insulate itself from like opponent's disruptive cards by putting out Omni Negations while you're doing your combo. So going second, hypothetically, like our opening hand would be pretty solid. Let's say we trade Ash, we trade Pankratops with something. What we have here is pretty decent because no matter what we have, if our opponent has like one interruption, we still can play through it just because of how powerful the Wakashi is. You're going to notice that's like a trend. Whenever we have Wakashi in our hand, we're just feeling so good because we're able to be insulated from so much. What we can do here is we can kick things off with the Doki Doki, discard Doki Doki to attempt to summon out a Adamancipator Researcher from the deck. It would suck if our opponent does have a way to stop this, but I think that at the end of the day, being able to keep the Seeker in hand is a little better, because in case, for example, our opponent does stop this, we technically have a way to get it out onto the board again through Pendulum Summoning with our Wakashi. So it's not a big deal if this does get stopped, and for that reason I want to start with this, because if this goes through, then I'm fairly certain our opponent's not going to have anything. You can quickly determine that because if your opponent starts a normal Doki, discard Doki, that's pretty vulnerable because that means they don't have a card like Analyzer to special summon out. They likely don't have a card like Researcher, otherwise they would have special summoned it, and Doki Doki might like be their only play. So that's why I'd start with the Doki Doki. What we could do then is summon out a copy of our Researcher, and then from here we can activate the Seeker to summon itself out. We activate the Researcher effect to activate the top 5 cards for our deck. It doesn't particularly matter if we hit or miss. Even in this case, if we miss, what we can do is just quickly turn these two into a copy of Herald of the Arclight, just so we're insulated against any potential additional hand traps like Nibiru, or hand traps our opponent or might have been holding for like a later occasion. And now we can just go Seeker. Of course, we want to hit with the Seeker, but even if we missed, for example, we still at least have like this full super heavy samurai combo, which is pretty decent. So here we get out the Guardian. What we could do is then like Wakashi, and then go for Barone plus full Pendulum Scales. Even though this wouldn't be game potentially unless we kept going and like synchro these for Raptite, excavate the top 5 cards of our deck. Summon out the Analyzer, and then Analyzer effect, excavate the top 5 cards of our deck. Summon out the Guardian. Now this is a pretty decent spot, because what we can do is turn these two into a copy of Dragite. Dragite can activate the top 5 cards of our deck, and now we hit 3 rocks, so we can bounce 3 of our opponent's cards back into their hand, and then we still have Wakashi to finish things off. So you're gonna notice that even though we had Wakashi in our hand this whole time, I chose not to start with it. The reason being, you can't really establish like a Barone until you get like these level 2s in the graveyard. So for that reason, I'd rather just hold it in hand. Very worst case scenario, if our opponent like does have like Imperm Nibiru or something like that, well, we still have this to summon Barone and get full Pendulum Skills, and Barone in a simplified game slate like that is very, very strong against a lot of decks out there. So that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did in the comment section below. Once again, do check out the deck profile that's already up on my channel. But that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.